He's Executive Director of Hand Up Housing. He's also very active and does preaching for River City Church, works with River City Ministry, and we have been supporting them for a number of years, and so we thought this would be a good opportunity for them to just give you a report on their work and share some of God's lessons with you. So, Don, it's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Again, I just want to say thank you for the support that you have given for my wife and I over the years. I've got a PowerPoint, and this works I hear most of the time, and so we're going to go ahead and start those. And listen, there are 3 qualifications to be a missionary: flexible, very flexible, and extremely flexible. And the reason is because you just don't know what's going to happen, when, and how. And so, again, we just want to tell you good morning. It's not afternoon yet. I'm used to being a little bit later because in the inner city, we get started a little later, but we go a little longer. And so, with our time, again, we have been blessed to come from Pennsylvania to Lubbock, Texas, to go to Sunset School preaching, to the Philippines. From 1983 to the year 2000, we came to Little Rock in 2000, and then in 2005 moved to North Little Rock. Next month we'll be married 47 years, and we have 3 children. I have 2 son-in-laws and 4 grandchildren. And so we just had our Christmas yesterday because we couldn't do it during December, and so they come up, and we really enjoyed time with our family. And so what I'd like to do today is I got some things I'm going to read. The inner city work in North Little Rock has several facets. And so what I'd like to do is try and share all that is. We've got some wonderful graphics. And I have the other co-workers, Keith Lape and his wife, Laura. And Keith is my tech guru, and so he takes care of a lot of things, and so we just share together. I'm a lot of hands-on type of person. And so we'll go through this and hopefully have some time at the end. They told me I have till 11 o'clock. Jerry, is that? No. I like to joke, and I know we're already a little behind, but we will see how this goes. All right, of course, Matthew 28 or Matthew 25 go ahead, just go all the way down through those. Another one. We're really familiar with this verse because there you go. Stay there for just a second. And the whole idea of the final judgment and the goats and the sheep and the right and the left, and it talks about hunger and thirsty and strangers and needed clothes and in prison. And the righteous said, well, when did we do that? And there's Jesus' answer. The king replied, truly I tell you, whenever you did it for the least of one of these, you did it one of these least of my brothers and sisters of mine, you did it for me. So the work that we do is just servants in the inner city, and all of us who work there have lots of stories of how we've messed up. I can write you a book on it. And how many of you ever done inner city work or know what that is? Okay, I have a few of you, just a little bit. And so it's a unique work, and there's lots of challenges with it. Look at another slide. Go ahead, Tim. And so, again, I see you have this up here, the Great Commission. That says, therefore, go and make disciples. And of course, the authority is already in Jesus. And so how do we go and do that? And how do we, and then baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Okay, the next slide. Next one. Go ahead. Back, there you go. In Acts 14:27, Paul's returning from his first missionary journey. And this is what I really like because it says, on arrival, he gathered the church together and reported all that God had done through them and how he had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. And that's all we want to share is what God's been doing through us, because we don't claim any of the credit. We just want to be God's, his eyes, his ears, his hands, his feet, where we are. And so doing ministry to us is not doing ministry, it's a way of life. Has been, we live in the inner city. Does anybody know why it's called the Hood? Any guesses? Come on, you can talk to me. Just It's okay. It's called the hood because neighbors have left. White flight, black flight, whatever you want, people moving out because other people are moving in. And so we chose, by God's grace, our time in the Philippines helped prepare us to do this, because in the Philippines, we were there 16 years and the city grew from 8 to 15 million people. Our backyard was 350,000 people. And in that, there was only 21 churches of Christ. So someone do the math. How many churches per people are there? Someone could figure that out fast. But living in the hood is what we did. Is before we had our full support, we actually got into some real estate, bought some houses. And so we bought houses in the hood so we could have a neighborhood. When we, just several years back, within the last 3 years, we could stand on our front porch and look north, east, and south, and there were 9 empty, boarded up houses. And again, I'm not bragging or complaining, I'm just sharing where we are, okay? It's near Silver City Court, and it'll all come together here in a minute. And so now, there are only one house that's there, and there's other flowers. The only flowers we saw was what Deanne had on her sidewalk, and now there's other ones coming up. So never underestimate the power that God's given you to blossom where you're planted. And that's all we're trying to do. Let's go on to the next one. And so what I like to do is kind of do an overview of what we have in the inner city among the churches of Christ and Greater Little Rock. Okay, next one, go ahead. And so it's kind of hard to read that. It says, but again, we're a collaborative network, because there's lots of us working together in a Christ-centered ministry. And we just want to bring God's glory and reconciliation among the poor, the disenfranchised, the dysfunctioning, and reconcile people back to God and to His resources. We use a term is that we accept people where they are until God can get them where they need to be. All right, next one. And so in that, there's these 6 entities. There's 2 churches, River City Church, that's one of the ones I'm a minister of, and then the other church is Silver City Church. And then there's 4 nonprofits, which are River City Ministry, Hope Works, Hand Up Housing, and Elam House. And this all began in the mid-'80s by the Levy Church of Christ, who went to Silver City Court. It's a government housing project. And they just wanted to do some ministry, started some vacation Bible school, and out of that, this has blossomed. Now, before I forget, there's a little side note that we'll meet Greg Sublett here in a minute. He's one of the guys for Silver City Church, who's been mentoring a young man who grew up, went to college, went to Searcy, and now, last year, a couple years ago, Levy hired him after 25 years of ministering to this young boy that Levy started, has now come full circle. And he's excellent in what he does. He works with the youth. He can relate both to the inner city and those who aren't. Okay, next slide, Tim. So what I want to do now is we're going to just look at several of the logos. So if you ever see some of these, we can connect them. So this is River City Ministries, again, open door to God by serving the poor. And then Silver City Church, Greg Sublett and his wife have been in there over 20 years. They mostly work with at-risk youth. Greg has a great mentoring program that if any of you are interested in being a mentor, there's a great opportunity. And then, of course, River City Church, our background is lifting up Jesus in the inner city. And then out of that, as Jerry mentioned, in 2008, Deanna and I and Jerry went to some classes to learn how to present some material to be a Christ-centered personal career development program. And so Jerry was our executive director for 5 years, and then Deanna has been the executive director since then. Next one is Hand Up Housing began because, well, we'd already been doing some housing of those of the inner city, but one of the gentlemen coming to our Bible class, or to Hope Works for classes, was living under the bridge. And I would go pick him up, and the hardest thing for me to do was to take Big John back and leave him out under the bridge. I don't know if you ever had a chance to do that. I hope you don't. But those experiences don't leave you. And so Jerry and I got to talking, and Hand Up Housing was born. And there's a difference. Now, of course, the other one says hands up. Of course, nowadays, that's really a bad sign for what's going on. And so the other one is, what's the difference between a hand up and a hand out? That's right. You can feed them a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. And so we want to teach them how to fish. And so Hand Up Housing, it's faith-based transitional housing in which we take people from all walks of life. We have even some registered sex offenders. We can only do level 1 and 2 because 3 and 4, our houses are in a place they can't be. And it's hard. And John Bell, the one I mentioned, when he came to us, could not read or write. Was running from the law. He was afraid to register because if they registered, he didn't have a place to live because he's under the bridge. He'd be reincarcerated. By God's grace, John surrendered, came into the program, was baptized, was growing, and was reading Scripture before he passed away. And John was also not a bouncer, but kind of a bodyguard at River City Ministry, because one of our Hand Up Housing houses is close to there. And so John worked part-time at the Democrat, and then when he wasn't there, he volunteered at River City Ministry. Now, Jerry just reminded me, I can tell a smile, there's a story with John, because John at the time had an ankle monitor, and we had a men's retreat, and John couldn't go. So John paid for, 2 people? To go to that retreat, even though he couldn't go, and he was just working a part-time job. So, anything else on John that you want to? That's good. Well, thank you. Pardon? Oh yeah, he rode his bicycle to work. It went across the bridge, and actually in the wintertime, he only fell once, and that's amazing. Okay, let's go to the next one. Elam House is the newest nonprofit. Kim Hogue had a vision, a dream, whatever, how you want to call it, 20 years ago that God would give her a ministry to help women. Well, she was doing well, had some family problems, and ended up in Hand Up Housing. She was at the time working for Goodwill. In 2016, she became incorporated, and then during that time, shortly thereafter, she's in Hand Up Housing, and we've been praying, and so she went through a lot of our classes, and of course she really doesn't need to be in Hand Up Housing, but she needed at the time. And then, so Elam House was actually given birth last year, and so she actually has 2 women. Now, how this thing's happened is where I come into part of this. The Levy Church of Christ had a house next to their church building that they needed moved. They tried to get somebody to buy it for $5,000. They said, oh, and then finally Dawn come in. Dawn works on houses, so they gave us the house. Kim said she could use the house, and we moved it from there to the old Oak Grove High School. It's out MacArthur Highway, if any of you know where that is. We're kind of north of I-40. We did that January of last year. Myself and 2 other guys, we had that was up on the dollies to move, but we had to take 6 foot of the roof off in about 10 degrees weather. We cut the rafters off. You'd love this, Bob. Cut all the rafters off, put it together. They moved it out. Someone blessed her to put new foundation in, so it has a new foundation and all the move. They treated it like a football. It was up and down. All the sheetrock came down. The insulation got wet. We had to redeck it, and so God blessed her with a new roof, new insulation, new wiring, new plumbing, new windows, new siding. Someone just put in a new back porch, and so she's already ministering to ladies. She has 2 now, and so it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, actually 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, and so 1 bedroom is Kim's, 1 is our office, and the other has 2 beds in it. The dream is this is an old school campus with 26 acres, over 100,000 square feet of building, but most of them need a lot of repair. There's only several buildings used, and 1 building they're trying to raise funds for. We call it the Building 1000. It's a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot just metal building. And of course, when the school left years ago, a church by the name of That Church bought it, and it was a ministry for these years, and that ministry's kind of gone down, and so they're trying to subdivide it. And so the goal is to have 16 women. They can't work, they have to focus there. And the lady that's already been there several months is just growing leaps and bounds. Let's go to the next one. So just to kind of give you an idea, as you can see, we've got really great graphics. If you can do better, come on, help us. So go ahead, next one. And so in 1980, the list, and just go ahead, we'll get down to the next one. The Levy Church of Christ began some ministry, and then we have Silver City Church, and then River City Ministry, and then River City Church, and then Hope Works and Hand Up Housing is under River City Church. And so we have these entities that all work together, trying to work in the inner city, and say, Don, do we really need all that? Well, come down and visit us, and we'll show you why it just takes a long time to help people. One other quick story is one of the gentlemen in our program, his name was Randy Shinning, was with us 2 years. Another registered sex offender, has very few places to go. He came into our program, and by God's grace, he grew, and he helped us with some of the things we did with with Hand Up Housing. He has a gift. He has a background in radio announcing. He's actually done work for the Haiti amputee team. If you've seen anything on that, he's done videos for that. And he's done a video for us, and hopefully near the end, if we got enough Wi-Fi, we're gonna see this little Hand Up Housing promotional. But Randy, here's what Randy, by God's grace, did in 2 years. Paid off his car. He was able to start a business. He was able to get married and bought a house, all in 2 years. What else? Did he do anything else? Is that put on? Oh, yeah, he was able to vote again. His voting rights was taken away. Those got back again, and so now he has a video promotion business, and so he's really somebody that God has worked with, and so helped us to do what we have. Okay, next one, Tim. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. There's a whole list of things. These are some things that's with that red's kind of hard to see. Is again, we have this Christ compassion we have that's for God so loved the world. We just want to love people where they are. With Christ's call, come and follow me. We don't tell people go and do this. We say come and be with us. And I think that's a little bit of the difference. And then the idea of the commandment, love God and love your neighbor as yourself. You know why we have a hard time loving neighbors? We have a hard time loving ourselves. And so we just really work on that. We have a little partnership for progress. We'll talk in a minute. Next one is Christ's commission course is go and make disciples. How do you make a disciple? Teach them. What else do you do? Be one. Yeah, you have to come alongside folks. And let me tell you, inner city work is messy. It's really messy. Okay, and then of course Christ's charge, care for the least of these. And it's just really hard in Hand Up Housing. Of course, we have rules and regulations, and no drinking, no smoking, and I do bed checks. And what's hard is if you go in at 9:30, and if then curfew was at 10, and somebody comes in, that's great. And if they're not there, then you wait till 10 and 10:15, and then they come in after curfew, and I can smell alcohol from me to you. You been drinking? Oh no, sir, Mr. Don, you know, I told you I wouldn't drink. Are you sure? Can you help me understand this? Well, you know, my dementia is kind of bad, and I don't remember all that you told me in the interview. And I said, okay. So I give a breathalyzer, and I said, could you blow in this? And he blew in it, and 0.08. Can you help me understand how this got on there? I didn't blow in it. Did you have any alcohol? I said, how did they get in there? He said, well, I've been sipping. Sipping. Oh, how much have you sipped? Oh, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 cans. I don't remember. I said, well, you know, in our interview we said no sipping. Oh, no, you didn't say anything about sipping. Oh, so your dementia is kind of compartmentalized. The sad part of that is it's 10 o'clock at night, pouring down rain, and there's other people in the house I have to protect. And I said, where do you want to go? Pack up what you need for 3 days, and I'll take you wherever you want to go in the city, but you can't stay here. That's the hard part, when you have to do that to protect the others. And so we just learn and grow, and so, but they're the least of these, so we'll work with them as long as we can. Okay, Tim. Okay, go ahead. There's a whole list of these as well. These are just different things we work with. There's chronic financial and material needs. There's severe mental and physical health problems. A lot of them with whatever you think people can have, they have it, and some of them have 2 or 3 different things. And so we work with them for a while. They do good for a while, and then they fall out. And so we have to look at, God's here just to plant the seeds, and so that's all we're trying to do. Then you have, of course, broken families, and there's all kind of family situations, of course, drugs and alcohol, trauma, violence, crime. There's been murders around 3 blocks from us. It was about 6 a year. I have bullet holes in my tree and the house next door, but Silver City Court is now shut down, and they're redoing it, and so that has cut down a lot. So we're thankful for that. Legal problems, jail, prison, parole, probation, and court. How many of you know how to bail somebody out of jail? Of course, we don't do that, but that's the things you get to learn how to do. Low educational achievement, so you have poor reading, poor writing, verbal communication abilities. And what happens is when these folks need to go to court, who's going to talk for them? Because they can't communicate on what's really going on. And so when they're in our program and they follow the program, I've been to court with several of them, and so the judges say, wow, you did all this. Yes, sir. And so because they're in the program, their fines come down and their jail time comes down. Not always, but most of the time it does. And so again, by God's grace, we get to be part of those, and that's what we do. Then you have, of course, substandard housing, homelessness, toxic relationships and patterns, underemployment, unemployment, this generational poverty that repeats over and over again. We had a gentleman in our Hope Works class, 31 years old, and never been out of public housing. Didn't know anything different, and that's okay. But that's some of the things you work with, and so how do you help them to do something different? Okay, Tim. All right, these are just a bunch of pictures. Go ahead. There's going to be several pictures there if we can see them. Just some around River City Ministry, River City Church, people we get to deal with. There's meals that happen at River City Ministry, and they have a dental. That's a pharmacy up there, upper right. And then this young guy, hold this just for a second. See, okay, that's all right. Hold there for a minute. Is Marlon. See how little Marlon was there in that center with his hand up? He's helped leading singing. And now he's an intern for Greg Sublett. Again, we're just a sister ministry, but it's taking years for that to happen. Okay, go ahead. And then in the middle, that's Michael Thomas. He was raised mostly by his grandmother. When she passed away, our office staff, our office manager at the time was Star Pistol. Her and her husband took him to West Little Rock and raised him for his last 2 or 3 years of school. He's now married, has 3 children. His wife is our youth minister, and he's in the Air Force. And please, if you think about praying for Michael Thomas, he's getting deployed on the 18th of February. He'll be gone for 8 months. And they just had a newborn. And, okay, next one. That's another one of our classes. Go ahead. And that's, in the lower right-hand corner, I guess it'd be your lower left-hand corner, there you go, is Greg Sublett. He's holding up a piece of paper. And they think, well, how important is that? Well, that's a marriage license. This couple have been together for years. They grew up in the church there, and he's able finally to do the wedding. And that's one of the exciting things that we get to do. And then in the upper right-hand corner, the lady in the middle is his daughter. And so Greg Sublett's daughter, Mandy, married Keith Lape's son. Just went blank. Caleb. And so now they have 3 children, and so now they have the 2nd and 3rd generation working and serving in the inner city. Okay? Ways to help. Go ahead. There's just a whole list of these. Okay. So again, praying for us is what's most important, and that's our connection, and that I pray that you would continue to pray for us, personal connection. We have youth mentoring, adult mentoring, being an encourager, weekly Bible studies. I know that may be hard. Vocational support, provide learning. And so we have these young people that Greg's has, and we have some classes on Tuesday night. We have regular Wednesday, and then Thursday we have classes. And so if you're ever down that way and want to come in and visit, that would be great. Vocational support, these guys need on-the-job training, and so we try to offer that. Hands-on volunteering. Many of you may not know, and I'm going to pick on Bob for a minute, but when we first got started, Bob brought another gentleman down, and thanks, Mike. Sorry, it's slept since then. And Mike, and they put some cupboards in the first house that we have, and we call it the Frank Street house. And so we've had several in there. Matter of fact, we have a gentleman in there now that's doing well. And so I really appreciate that, and that's still one of the houses we still use. Let's see what other events. We have different outreaches. If you want to be a vocational missionary, that's just come down and keep your regular job and work in the inner city. And then network. People need to know what we do, share with it. We'll be glad to come and share, Mother. Contribute in which you do, and which we really appreciate it, to be able to do what we do. And so part of the reason I'm able to be here today is that the last time Deanna and I really took much of a break was 2011. We're supposed to do a 6-week sabbatical. We ended up only getting 3 because this come up, that come up. And so this month and part of next month, that's what we're going to do, is trying to get away and visit some of the churches and try to regroup, because we like to work. We're pretty much workaholics, and so 24/7 you get calls, and we enjoy what we do, but we do need to catch our breath and get a chance to get away. Okay, the next one. Again, we just can't say thank you enough. I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little of the work of the inner city. I know it may be kind of all mixed together, but at least you have a little more idea what we do. And so our normal days is we get up and we just get to minister to people, and I ask a question. Of course, I look at what I do as missionary. Does anybody know what a missionary does?
Everything.
There you go. Whatever it takes. You may see me doing a Bible class. You may see me under the hood of a car, golf course in 19 years, probably twice. That was just for a fundraiser. That's the only reason I went. But we like to do what we do, and so toilet backs up, guess what? If you can fix it, you get to be the one. And so and it's interesting, since the 1st of January, 3 times it's already backed up, and so the other guys had to work on it. And so, okay, questions and answers. Does anybody have some questions, things that they like? Yes, sir.
Is your wife here?
Yes, right there, Miss Deanna. The other way I'm able to do what I do is that I have a wife that works probably more than I do, because she cooks meals. Even though we're not supposed to be, there's meals been prepared for things going on while we're out, and so I really appreciate her. Good question. Other questions? Tim, you think we can do that little video? Or did you have one, Bob? Ain't doing nothing. Well, now that you ask, this wonderful ceiling that you have here, we have a house on Maple Street, 1503 Maple Street, that it's got 10-foot ceilings, and we're trying to cut down on our. Huh? What? The lowered ceiling. Well, yeah, we could do that too. I mean, we just use what we have, and so, well, thank you. I will keep that in mind. Because, well, I won't get into our personal stuff. Jerry, you can tell me.
And I would tell you that they put other people first in their own house.
Yeah, our own house. And so, shh, okay. I won't go any farther.
They
No, that's fine. So let's see if we can do this little video. This is Randy Shinning, one of the guys in our program, did this little promotional video for Hand Up Housing. He's done one for Kim and the Elam House and several other ones. See if it'll play for us, Tim. HopeWorks is a Christ-centered personal and career development program in which we were trying to get people off the street, and we had several of our folks coming that were homeless and needed a place to be housed. My wife and I actually had some houses and another couple, and so we started housing folks in order to have them be ready to come into class.
Many of the individuals we're working with are in crisis, and so our goal is to help them work through those things and to be able to become self-sufficient again.
We define progress as progressing as a whole person, head, heart, hands, in relationship to all of our fundamental relationships, God, self, others, and creation. We say we measure progress not in miles per hour, but in inches per year.
We work together and to provide medical care, dental care, some counseling and social work services and those kind of things.
Hand Up Housing people become our family. They worship with us, we walk alongside them, we mentor them, we try to provide safe, clean environments to help them make life changes.
There was only two options left, prison or death. God can work in anybody. If he worked in me, I feel that, he can work on somebody else through this program.
I think the biggest change that we hope for is a dedication to Jesus Christ. And in that process, hopefully they begin to realize that they are created in God's image and they can live up to the potential that God has for them.
I just about lost hope. I feel that Hand Up Housing equipped me to be successful in life through spiritual guidance, studying the Word more.
As our Hand Up Housing individuals grow and progress, they are becoming not drains on society, but they are contributing productively to society.
Thank you again. If there isn't any other questions, then we get dismissed for class.